Since the 5th of August 2019, India has initiated unilateral illegal steps to impose what its leaders ominously call a final solution for Jammu and Kashmir.
The real truth is that Pakistan covets our territory and in fact has continuously used terrorism to disrupt elections in Jammu and Kashmir, an inalienable and integral part of India. In fact, Pakistan should realize that cross-border terrorism against India will inevitably invite consequences.
Day in and day out, 900,000 Indian troops terrorized the people of occupied Jammu and Kashmir with draconian measures including prolonged curfews, extrajudicial killings, and the abduction of thousands of young Kashmiris.
A country run by the military with a global reputation for terrorism, narcotics trade, and transnational crime has had the audacity to attack the world's largest democracy. I speak about the reference to India in the speech of the Pakistani Prime Minister. The world can see for itself what Pakistan really is.
India has spurned Pakistan's proposals for a mutual strategic restraint regime. Its leadership has often threatened to cross the line of control and take over Azad Kashmir.
As the world knows, Pakistan has long employed cross-border terrorism as a weapon against its neighbors. It has attacked our parliament, our financial capital Mumbai, marketplaces, and pilgrimage routes. The list is long. For such a country to speak about violence anywhere is hypocrisy at its worst. It is ridiculous that a nation that committed genocide in 1971 and which persecutes its minorities relentlessly even now dare speak about intolerances and phobias.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, let me state in no uncertain terms that Pakistan will respond most decisively to any Indian aggression.
Mr. President, we are talking about a nation that for long hosted Osama bin Laden, a country whose fingerprints are on so many terrorist incidents across the world, whose policies attract the dregs of many societies to make it their home. Perhaps it should come as no surprise that its Prime Minister would so speak in this hallowed hall. Yet, we must make clear how unacceptable his words are to all of us. We know that Pakistan will seek to counter the truth with more lies. Repetition will change nothing. Our stand is clear and needs no reiteration.
My delegation is obliged to exercise its right of reply in response to the baseless and misleading assertions made by India. India continues to peddle a false narrative in this forum, year after year, relying on tactics of denial, distortion, and deflection. However, these distortions cannot alter the reality that Jammu and Kashmir is an internationally recognized disputed territory. It has never been, nor will ever be, a part of India, nor is it an internal matter. The United Nations Security Council, through numerous resolutions, has unequivocally called for a free, impartial plebiscite to enable the people of Jammu and Kashmir to exercise their inalienable right to self-determination. India is obligated under Article 25 of the UN Charter to implement these resolutions. Yet, instead of honoring its obligations, India has chosen the path of repression, subjecting the legitimate aspirations of the Kashmiri people for self-determination through a brutal and oppressive occupation. India's illegal and unilateral actions of 5 August 2019 further intensified this occupation, with nearly 1 million soldiers deployed to suppress the Kashmiris' legitimate right. My Prime Minister shed a spotlight on these facts today, which may be uncomfortable for India, yet this remains the truth, which India cannot deny through its sophistry. India's crimes in IIOJK are heinous and committed with impunity. Innocent civilians, including women and children, are being targeted through staged encounters, extrajudicial killings, and collective punishment. The entire Kashmiri political leaders remain incarcerated, and a media blackout continues to stifle independent voices. This is the largest military occupation in the world, where over 8 million Kashmiris live in a perpetual state of siege and horror. The reports of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights and statements from over a dozen UN special rapporteurs have documented these widespread violations and called for the investigation of human rights violations in IIOJK. Yet, India has consistently denied them access to the occupied territory. India has once again resorted to the familiar tactic of deflecting global attention from its own terror activities by raising baseless accusations of terrorism. It is ironic that a country which uses terrorism as an instrument of state policy against its neighbors should attempt to point fingers at others. India, which has been sponsoring terrorism and orchestrating assassination campaigns, is hardly in a position to lecture others on this issue. In addition to its state terrorism against the defenseless people of IIOJK, India continues to sponsor terror activities not only against Pakistan but also in other countries. For decades, India has been the primary perpetrator, supporter, and financer of terrorism. India's sponsorship of terrorist organizations such as Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pakistan, and the Balochistan Liberation Army has led to the loss of thousands of innocent Pakistani lives. Pakistan has shared irrefutable evidence of India's involvement in terrorism with the international community. The arrest and conviction of Kulbhushan Yadav, a serving Indian naval officer and an operative of India's intelligence agency RAW, is irrefutable evidence of India's state-sponsored terrorism against Pakistan. Now, the Indian terrorist franchise has gone global, with assassinations and attempted murders of political dissidents on North American soil. The delegation of India referred to the events of 1971, which were not a question of genocide, but of India's foreign aggression and attack on national sovereignty and territorial integrity of Pakistan. I would like to request the Indian delegation to refer to the General Assembly resolution of December 1971, which upheld the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Pakistan against the foreign invasion. While the Indian delegate referred to India as the biggest democracy, the world knows that the India's reign of terror against its minorities continues unabated. The BJP RSS government, which has ruled India since 2014, is imposing a reign of fear and violence, not only against the people of IIOJK, but also against its own Muslims, Christians, Dalits, and other low-caste Hindus. Islamophobia has deeply infiltrated the Indian state, where 200 million Muslims face lynching by cow vigilantes and pogroms led by RSS, often with government complicity. Muslims are facing forced conversions, disenfranchisement, restrictions like the hijab ban, and the destruction of hundreds of mosques, including the Babri Masjid, all aimed at erasing Muslim identity and culture, which are integral parts of India's history. India must end its state-sponsored terrorism, cease its illegal occupation of Jammu and Kashmir, and fulfill its obligations under international law. Pakistan has been and will continue to highlight India's state terrorism against our people and the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Make no mistake, Indian state terrorism in IIOJK will not be able to dampen the indomitable spirit of those seeking their inalienable right to self-determination, nor will India's attempt to divert attention from its sponsorship of terrorism ever succeed.